Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the CCA podcast. And I'm joined here with my lovely co lead and co host, Krona. Krona, how are
Well,
you doing
hello.
today?
OmaZen, if I had a nickel for every single time I wore a jacket on the podcast, I'd have two nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that I've done it twice at this point. No, I'm doing really well. I just finished up my last week of classes, my master's degree, and your boy's looking to graduate this Thursday, so, enjoying that final week of relaxation.
Heck
What
yeah.
about yourself?
No, I'm glad to hear it. Definitely going through that additional year for your master's and everything. Really impressive stuff. Um, but in terms of my own
Oh,
land,
OmaZen, you're making me blush.
oh yeah, no, sorry. but um yeah, no, in terms of my own land, I realized that about a year ago I graduated college, which I think is scary to think about. Um I've been working for nearly a year now, so being removed from collegiate, like actively participating and everything as a student, as a player, is a little jarring and in some ways depressing, even because it's like, wow, I remember when I was in everyone's shoes here and now I'm not. So I don't
We're,
know, it's a
we're,
big
we're old
transition.
men at this part, OmaZen.
Yeah, we're
Old men in the
grandparents.
CCA.
Yeah. A little fun
We're old. I
fact.
don't want to think about what that makes DRF at this case.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Be like a living fossil or something.
I know, right? um Nevertheless, though, uh I say we just go ahead and just get things rolling. So, I'm going to give you all
Please.
a quick overview of today's episode. First off, we have some CCA announcements we're going to go over on some upcoming events and things to look to. After that, we're going to be looking at the Season 6 playoffs recap. After that, we're going to be doing a team interview with Death Roll with B3 and Oculus. And fun fact, Death Roll was the first team we properly interviewed on the podcast when this all started about a year and a half ago, roughly now. So it's going to be really cool to kind of loop around and check in on how they're doing, especially with their performance the past academic year. And then after that, me and Krona are going to be doing kind of a look back at memory lane and do some retrospective lists, uh, covering a few different topics. So look forward to that. And then after that, we have a couple more additional announcements relating both to the podcast and just kind of closing off our episode. So, with all that done and said, let's increase the counter today one more time and get started. So, our first CCA announcement is about the fantasy update, and it's fantasy, I believe, should be out now, right? And if I'm not mistaken, Corona, you may have beaten
Uh,
everyone
uh,
out.
uh, well, OmaZen, you are spoiling our,
I'm
our viewers
spoiling.
because it's not officially out yet.
Well, hypothetically, he might have, but look forward to that being
Hypothetically,
out.
Nito is still letting it simmer a little bit after being air fried for a few more seconds. He's been slammed with work.
Fair enough.
But yes, you can look for it to be out and servable to the larger community here very soon. And if it's not, then by all means go ping that man or something. I don't know. Go bully him or something.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, fantasy is always fun. I forgot to participate this past season. My bad, but I know a lot of people had fun with it. In particular, with all the like really tight matches and sets, especially. It was like real gambling. It's like real
Hmm.
fantasy. It's wild.
Yeah, it was very. It was honestly a bit good to go back to the old format too, because remember in circuit we did the pick'ems for the finals event, which was great.
Hmm.
But sometimes it is fun just kind of picking a team and rooting for them throughout the entire regular season and trying to see if they'll give you some points. Um, but yeah, fantasy will be out soon. aka Go Bother Nito. As for the CCA feedback forum, this is your final reminder that the CCA League Season 6 feedback forum is still live if you want to give your thoughts and feedback on this past season of CCA action. I'm dropping the link into chat right now. It is pretty lengthy because it's pretty involved with a bunch of stuff, but please fill out the best of it you can to give us feedback. We always take a look at it and take things into discussion when planning our future events and such. So your thoughts are always welcomed as long as they are valid feedback and good critiques. So
Yeah, valid feedback keyword. Um, don't go and be like a little rascal in those comments there. Um, but moving on to yet another announcement, we got the Collegiate Crossfire 2025. It's going to be a follow up of last year's event in a lot of ways, and we're going to be once again bringing together teams both from the US representing the CCA and also teams from Great Britain and beyond with the NSE. In particular, you can look forward to joining 8 teams in each big region, and they're going to be playing in really what we would consider to be the ultimate international collegiate Splatoon invitational to determine which conference reigns supreme. And guess what? You can catch the action this Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I believe, with streams across both the CCA and Dapple Productions Twitch accounts. And there's a quick look at our graphic once again for that on screen right now. Definitely be sure to tune in and join in on the action when it all goes down.
yeah, it's thrilling to be working with the NSC TOs once again for this event. It was a lot of fun last year, and we're hoping to make this event even more competitive and even more fantastic for both these regions for Collegiate Splatoon. So check it out if you can, and let's root on your favorite teams and region throughout the entire event.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it too. And also be sure to stay tuned for other events that we're currently cooking as the year progresses. I mean, here at the CCA, there's always someone in the kitchen trying to make something. So what that something is, we may have to wait and see.
But yeah, certainly. Again, can confirm or deny nothing, but as you know, we are always hard at work here at the CCA, putting on the best collegiate Splatoon experience for everyone we can. So, keep your words out for any big pings and announcements, and follow along.
Absolutely. Uh, but with that all said and done, Corona, I think we've basically covered all our announcements. Do you want to start us off on our big division retrospectives of this past season's playoffs?
Hell yeah, my brother. So the long-awaited return of the league brought back with it some absolutely fierce competition and a plethora of just amazing teams and storylines to go with it. With the Cirque in the fall, it's been a while since league, so teams really had a lot to showcase within this past season. So me and OmaZen here wanted to take some time to both recap some of the 8 new division winners, and to talk about some of those major storylines that come last week. So without further ado, Oma, do you want to take us away with Div 8?
Yeah, I'd love to, Corona. And Div 8 was particularly interesting. I think really every single playoff division, like to preface real quick, had a lot of really tight sets in a way that I don't think we've really seen to this like level before in the CCA. So seeing the growth, seeing how competitive a lot of these divisions have become at the varying skill levels, people just starting comp, people returning to comp, people who have been in the CCA for a few years now, and may even be having this be their last semester. It's really exciting to see how just all that plays off each other. And Division 8 was no different. In what might just be the most decisive victory in CCA League history, Catfished from Sam Houston State University won the Division 8 finals with a 5-1 victory over AU City Splatoon Blue. Catfished nearly pulled off a perfect CCA League run, ending their season having gone completely undefeated in their group stage. a 5-0 victory over the Tentacoolers in playoff quarterfinals, and a 5-0 victory over the Crusadernators in the playoffs semifinals. This left Catfished at a total 35-1 record in games at the end of the season. They killed it. They proved that they belong in a division definitely above Division 8. I think that's at least for sure. But I'm really interested to see what this group may be able to pull off in the future in new CCA events.
Yeah. And quick highlight: this is our first Division 8 champion because this is the first time we've had a division. So congrats to them for having their name um, embedded in CCA history. You know the word I'm trying to say. But yeah, an absolute dominant performance, and definitely want to see kind of where they can kind of correctly find themselves within the skill levels in the CCA in the later dates and such. But moving on to Division 7, Division 7 tells the story of not just a dominant team, but a dominant university, with the first and second place resulting going to Do Leaf, Sheep, Dream of Sleep, and Grilled Cheese Slider, respectively, both of the University of California, Santa Cruz. Both teams went through the group stage, sweeping every set they would play in, besides the sets against one another, with Do Leaf, Sheep, Dream of Sleep taking the group set 4-1. The two teams would then continue sweeping each other team in Division 7 until meeting again once in Division 7 finals, with Do Leaf, Sheep, Dream of Sleep taking the set over again in a 5-2 victory. Santa Cruz truly proves that the only people capable of defeating Santa Cruz is Santa Cruz themselves. So fantastic work out of Santa Cruz, and some fantastic names I definitely did not get my tongue twisted over trying to say.
There's a few things I want to toss in as well with Division 7, kind of similar to Division 8, but also unique in its own ways. Division 7 actually has appeared in the past before in the CCA, I believe during League Season 3, mostly due to like a kind of balancing of the teams back then and how we were handling that. But it's returned once again due to the really strong growth that we've seen with how many new teams are becoming a part of the league. And I think what's particularly really cool is we got to see a school versus school matchup where it's like two sister teams from the same school. You don't really see that often. I want to say it's maybe happened before. I don't know the specific
In,
example.
in League, it's happened once before. I believe that was between Daybreak and Nightfall back in Season 3.
Oh,
In
that's
Circuit, it
awesome.
happened a few other times because of Division 4's Spirality
Yeah.
and Shadow Warriors
Shadow
teams.
Warriors. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, that's cool to know. But I also just love the branding and just the energy that comes from these teams. They're a bit relatively fresher, I think, in the grand scheme of things. But
hmm
like just like do Leaf Sheep Dream of Sleep. It's like I would never come up with that personally, but I love the vibe that they're sending out with that. And then also, of course, Grilled Cheese Slider, where they have like a stylized reef slider in their logo. I think that's so cute too. So really love what they
Yeah.
got cooking over there. Really hope to see them
Speaking of,
again.
I believe both those teams were high in the fantasy picks for most creative names this season. Rightfully so, of course.
Hmm. Like teams like that make me want to maybe one day do some sort of CCA League tier list again for all the logos that people craft and come up with. Because just seeing like what they were able to come up with, it's like this is like top tier. Nevertheless, though, I'll go ahead and take us on to Division 6. Division 6 in particular proved to be another incredibly close division with only one match in all of the playoff games having a 5-0 result, with Stingray Incorporated beating Farmingdale State Rams. This also included a well-deserved division victory for the University of Alabama's High Tide after beating SplatScad's Yellow Team in an incredible close game 9 match in the playoff semifinals before going on to beat Irvine Valley College's IVC Stingrays in a 5-3 set. High Tide had also gone 5-0 in their group stage, earning them an 8-0 win and loss record to end off their season, and the Farmingdale State Rams and High Tide Terps would also end their group stages at a 5-0 record. However, both were knocked out of the playoffs in the first round, showing just how close and competitive Division 6 was this league season.
Yeah, some fantastic stuff out of Division Six. And I'll repeat, I know I say this every single season, and it's always true, so bear in mind. But it's always so fascinating to me to watch some of these lower divisions. You might not have some of the, notability and name things that you have in the higher divisions, but this is really where you see the future of Collegiate Splatoon, with these newer teams and programs, testing the waters, finding themselves in trying new things in this environment. Some of the best teams we've seen up in the higher division have had their starts in lower divisions, have slowly started to work their way up over time. So it's always fascinating to watch along with Division 6, and soon I'll talk about Division 5, where you see a lot of these teams getting their big starts right there. Um, Anything to comment there, Emma?
No, I mean, I completely agree. What's also neat to see is that you still do see some older faces among all of that as well. Like Farmingdale's been a team that we've had the CCA for the past several seasons. So, I mean, seeing some consistency there too is neat. And you also have teams like IVC Stingrays, which have kind of been a mantle. It's similar to other schools, how they kind of keep the same title rolling throughout the seasons, even though the roster may largely change. So just seeing some of these familiar names around back when I used to also compete in CCA is really cool to see. That some people
Yeah.
are carrying the torch in a way, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously we talk a lot about the competition and such, wanting to be the best team in your division and such. But, for a lot of teams, just participating in this, activity and having, a teammates to play along with the competition, that's all they need and such. So it's kind of good to see these familiar faces keep at it and find themselves in a good spot. So moving on to Division 5, we have TMU White ended up taking the gold this season, defeating PSU. Okay, fish, 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 and a rousing 5-1 sweep. Their path to finals was blocked by UTEEP and Stu, with only the former able to get a single game off of them, boasting far for more decisive results than their peers, who often went to a game 8 or 9s. The only comparable result was NCSS Splat Llamas defeating SSU Esports 5-1. Within Division 5, groups were not safe from their dominant sweeps, with only Corsair and Drexel Gold Splatoon managing to take 1 to 2 games off of TMU White, respectively, over the first 5 weeks of the league. So some fantastic stuff out from Division 5, with a lot of the larger universities' second teams kind of stewing up some drama and some interesting results there.
Yeah, I really like your pun there too.
It
We
was not good. Do not give me credit for that.
did DePaul's Stew team play this season? Do you happen to know?
I don't think so. I think Geek
Oh
Stew the name was retired.
man, all
Because I
right.
think the higher teams are
I believe there's
oh
Chicago
my
Squid
god.
Hole. I know that's one of them.
Yeah, and then Trans Inca 40 is the other one I
Yeah,
remember just because of how good that name. Um but yeah, I don't think there was no stew off this semester
there
this
was no
semester,
stew off.
unfortunately.
No, that was
Yeah,
just the concept of that even maybe being a possibility is iconic. Really love
of
just
course.
I really love just the weird coincidences that sometimes pop up in the community. But when you have so many teams and everyone is like, I don't know, everyone's consuming basically the same brain rot at the end of the day. Like, I can definitely see where some of
Yeah.
the similarities can come in.
Yeah, and kind of one more thing I did want to highlight from Division 5 is really just Texas A&M's platoon program. You remember we talked about it a lot last semester
Yeah.
with the circuit, just having this large school coming back into the fray, and they brought so many great teams and such into the fray with black, maroon, and white here throughout the entire CCA. So it's been fantastic to have kind of their support and their what I'm looking for their appearances here in the CCA. And we really look forward to kind of seeing, this large platoon program continue throughout the next couple seasons to come.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Splat when they finally came onto the scene. And
Mm-hmm.
just like so many other universities that have had like their ebbs and flows, like maybe a team or two will retire, but then after a season or two, you'll see a bunch more pop up. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool to
Yeah,
see.
keeping a program growing and consistently healthy is always key, and it's good to see kind of these programs have a large amount of players that they can, not to say toss around with, but can kind of field a lot of their teams and contribute to their successes. So
Absolutely, I completely agree. Um, and in a similar vein, we have some teams that have had some uh, pretty strong wins in their own right that we're going to be talking about next in Division 4. So, RIT Orange Kois emerged as the winners of Division 4, beating out BSU Grizz Taco in the grand finals match by a score of 5 to 2. The Orange Kois had a very strong season after entering as a number 6 seed, while Grizz Taco took down the heavily favored Goomies in the semis, heading into this match with a nice burst of momentum. RIT Orange Kois enjoyed a nice dose of success themselves, going 5-0 in the regular season before steamrolling UCSD Esports Navy in a 5-0 round 1 of the playoffs, and taking a 5-1 semifinals win over CSULB Black en route to the finals, where they would secure their place in history as Division 4 champions. BSU Grizz Taco was another team that went 5-0 in the regular season, only dropping 2 games total. They followed this up with a 5-1 win over the KSU Wild Sharks before they awaited a matchup with the division favorites Goomies from VCU, whom they handily beat in a dominant 5-0 performance to punch their ticket to the finals. Before they fell short of the gold, though, this was a very admirable season for BSU. Goomies, not willing to be forgotten that easily, went on to win third place in Division 4 as they beat CSULB Black in a 5-2 for the bronze. Uh, and big shout outs to all the teams here. Like a lot of really dominant forces as well. RIT Orange Kois in particular, but of course also Grizz Taco, Goomies, and CSULB Black also having really notable appearances this past semester.
Yeah, this was a very hard division final for me to root for because having met Grizz Taco personally in New England, like they're great folks and it's fantastic to watch their journey. But RAT has also been one of those consistent Splatoon programs that just always been there, has always been consistently improving. So this is a very tough match for me to kind of try to decide. But honestly, again, the RAT kind of showed that they were the dominant team that day and they deserved the win and such. But some great performances from all these teams involved. I mean, again, these are a lot of teams that we've said times and times, team names we've said time and time over here. So it's really good to kind of see them keep pushing forward within the Splatoon scene. So,
Yeah,
anything else here, Oma?
no, I completely agree with you there. RIT being like kind of a little bit of a classic kind of now in the CCA relatively. Um, and it's just good to see them continue to improve. It's really good to see these other faces too. And a little bit of a uh, side note too, but apparently this was in particular Gumi's last semester, so it's going to be a little bit sad to see them go, but they definitely have left behind probably one of the, I would argue, strongest legacies in the CCA in the grand scheme of things.
Your Gumi count is already up to 4 for
I
this
know.
episode, just letting you know.
Thank you for keeping track.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we'll be getting there. But moving on to Division 3, we have the UTK Feeders of the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, sweeping through We Aquatic Little Creatures 5-0 in the finals of Division 3. Their season did not get off to a strong start. However, after a 0-4 forfeit set against Fenshaw College's Fenshaw Fire. After the set, the feeders from UTK practiced hard, scrimming everyone and anyone they could to get ready for the challenging opponents list ahead. In a clearly lurk with UTK feeders not dropping a single set for the rest of the season, with their closest set being a 4-2 win over RIT White Prawn. We aquatic little creatures barely managed to squeeze their way into a playoff spot, immediately facing the number 1 seed from their own group, Creamed Corn, and took the set 5-0, making it all the way to the finals of Division 3, proving that they truly earned their playoff spot and made it the best they could. So some fantastic stuff out of some of the Division 3 teams. Having personally kind of followed one of the WPI teams along here, it was crazy to kind of see some of this playoff bracket and what some of the wildcard spots did to this division. We aquatic little creatures barely making it in, having to then face the number 1 seed from their group and making it to the finals. Absolute peak story writing. So whoever came up with that on the CCA staff side, by all means, great storyline engineering.
Absolutely, I love scripting just the CCA League and like pretty much everything that happens, you know. But I
Uh,
definitely big shout out to Walk in particular. I think you might have highlighted this, but just gonna double down on it. They had to back to back fight Creamed Corn. Like it wasn't just like the one time of like, oh, they actually like just beat up the number one seed in their group, and it's like, okay, yeah, we'll maybe toss you that wild card spot. They had to like confirm that yes, that they actually beat them by doing it a second time. And
yeah,
like,
I'm pretty sure. Go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, also big shout outs to Creamed Corn too, because they truly were a dominating force in Division 3 this season. So to see them like also just go down so quickly when playoffs came around was a little bit of a buzzkill in some ways, but
Hmm.
it was peak story writing.
Yeah, yeah. Hashtag Creamer Nation and all. But I mean, honestly, again, great for UTK. I know they've kind of been a consistent force around here. A lot of like, will they, won't they kind of type of runs. But to finally kind of put a nail in their coffin and to grab their first kind of like notable CCA victory here is fantastic. I know they're, Treki and all the players there have worked really hard for it, so it's great to kind of see them finally have something to really show for their efforts.
No, I completely agree there too. Kareki's put in a ton of effort, has really invested a ton in this community, and getting that win definitely, you deserve to pat yourself on the back at a bare minimum. So big congrats to y'all for pulling through on that win. Um, uh, and, and on another note, though, I think it's just about time to talk through Division 2, though, as we still have two more divisions to talk through. Um,
Like,
so taking a look,
longer and longer every single
I
season, I
know,
swear to God.
I know, like I was kind of hesitating there because I'm like, oh, we talked through what would normally be all of our divisions, but there's two more. So, hey, it's awesome, but gotta do what we gotta do. But anywho, concluding one of the closest final matches ever hosted in the CCA was the Smash Brothers, who ultimately overcame H-Town Rebels in grand finals with a decisive 5-2 victory where they were able to earn their gold medal. Smash Brothers is a particularly interesting team, with much of their roster being competitive veterans playing together for the first time. Their collective experience outside of the CCA clearly showed, as their entire team clearly knew how to play around each other and earn results at a very high level of collegiate play. Both teams were considered underdogs in their bracket runs, with Smash Brothers needing to overcome veteran teams Daybreak and Reef Runners, while the third veteran team, Banana Split, and CCA Circuit Division 2 victor Octos and Squids United Scarlet stood in the Rebels' way. Both of Smash Brothers' pre-finals sets went to a Game 8, while both of H-Town Rebels sets went to a very close Game 9. These were very well fought from all teams, and a huge congratulations to the Smash Brothers and Rebels for persevering in such a closely matched bracket. Um, and I was talking about this earlier with how close some of these sets were in playoffs in particular with the CCA this season, but Division 2, and DRF yapped about this a little bit himself on Blue Sky previously, but um, this was like the tightest like CCA division ever, and it probably will stay that way for, I would argue, quite a while. Everything was like a game 8 at a bare minimum, and all those game 8s I believe belonged to the Smash Brothers. So there was just like that little bit of edge that Smash Brothers seemed to kind of have over some of the other teams in their division, but nevertheless, like, it just goes to show how competitive this was, and just like how much a lot of these collegiate teams have improved over the past few
Yeah.
seasons.
For certain. I really think kind of some of the dynamic division placements too allowed for some of this. With having kind of a smaller and tight knit Division One, some of those lower Division One teams really kind of got to stretch their footing here in Division Two, and it was an absolute show to see as we saw this playoff bracket. Everyone was on their A game, and as you said, like literally had it been a different day or even a different hour, maybe some of these results would have changed and such.
Oh,
But an
absolutely.
absolute fantastic showing, and probably one of the best brackets we'll see from CCA in a while. Historically, Division Two has just always had such banger playoff brackets going back all the way to season 2. But like again, like this is another record for the book, for kind of just the legacy of these Division 2 teams in playoff brackets.
Yeah, completely agree there. Think you summed that up
But yeah,
perfectly. Yeah.
yeah, but we still have the top division to talk about, and that is Division 1. PSU beats Death Roll, and PSU Blue beats Death Roll in the finals in a 5-2, an explosive set. This is the first meeting between these two Titans this season, with PSU being the first seeded team this entire season, and Death Roll being a highly taunted squad who just toppled the reigning circuit champion Big Fat Seacons in the semi. PSU Blue had a dominant showing in the regular season, being the only undefeated team in Division 1 and not dropping even a single game. This earned them a round 1 bye in the playoffs, but they would face the mighty Arc Haley from UTD in semifinals. PSU took the first game loss in the set, but ultimately won 5-2, setting the stage for the finals appearance, and eventually earning their second Division 1 championship in CCA League. Death Roll also earned a round 1 bye thanks to the 4-1 record and tiebreaker over Arc Haley. The University of Florida's team's one loss in the regular season came in Week 5 at the hands of BCU's Big Fat Sea Cows, continuing an intense rivalry that led Death Roll getting their revenge in an intense 9-game semifinal win. In another 9-game set, Arc Haley secured their place on the podium by nearly topping the Sea Cows in the third place match overall. What a fantastic conclusion to Division 1 we saw here. Absolutely, just every single storyline, it seems like, from the circuits, which is enabled and advanced upon in every single way with this playoff bracket. An absolute just fantastic showing from all these teams involved.
Yeah, I can't agree more myself, Krona. Division 1 was really intense this season. I think what was really cool about Circuit in particular is that it just enabled all of these different launching points for a lot of different teams throughout the CCA. And I think that was especially true, of course, for Division 1. And the fact that there was pretty much a unique winner every single time was really cool in of itself, where we kind of just established all these different powerhouses. It wasn't just only tied to the league. Now it's also tied to the individual qualifiers. It's tied to the playoff circuit event as well. And being able to see that culminate here this season was really cool. And I think it's something that I think a lot of people are going to remember for a long time as well, heading into the future and seeing where a lot of these teams who are still around find themselves.
Can't believe you're stealing one of my points for later in the show. Thank you, OmaZen.
You're welcome.
uh, but no, an absolute just fantastic showing from Div 1. Um, Again, it's been a joy to follow these teams along since a lot of their appearances in the circuit and such. And I think, again, a lot of these results could have gone differently in a different day. And that's when you know you have a great freaking playoff bracket to show for that. So again, I think this leaves kind of a lot on plate for some of these teams. This being, I think, Big Fat's like last full season too with their roster, and a lot of other smaller things. But as always, it's interesting to see kind of the ebbs and flows of the Div 1 teams and kind of see who can kind of push further, and kind of make a run as deep as they can. So, anything else here, Oma?
Not from my end, really, but that kind of just wraps it up for our big division retrospective of this past season's playoffs. Um, Again, like a lot of the closest sets we've seen so far in the CCA, we got to see also just a lot of really cool storylines culminating, and I hope that we get to see a lot of that continue on either in our future events or just in future seasons. So with that all done and said, I think it's just about time for us to bring on our guests today. And our guests in particular are going to be none other than Death Roll, who, fun fact, was our very first interview we had on the CCA podcast here. So we're kind of, going full circle here, starting a little bit down memory lane a little bit, but kind of also checking in on what's been going on with the Death Roll crew, of course, too. So with all that done and said, let's go ahead and bring them on. and we are all live with you all. So welcome on B3, welcome on Oculus. It's great to have you both, of course.
I just realized I was muted.
Oh, no
I started
worries there.
talking about
All
muted.
good. But yeah, so for our audience, let me give a quick introduction to Death Roll. Due to their name, Death Roll has been had the entire collegiate scene caught in a death roll this past year, placing first in both EE4 and EE5. The University of Florida's Death Roll has been one of, if not the most important and pivotal collegiate teams this past academic year. Finishing second overall in Division One during the CCA circuit, and just falling short of PSU Blue in Division One's Grand Finals match during CCA League Season 6, Death Roll has had an impressive year of growth and dominance throughout all aspects of Division One. Now let's sit down and discuss how the program has grown and changed since we last talked to them 8 months ago, roughly 8 months ago. So yeah, welcome Death Roll.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah.
So
I'd probably let
I
you
get
B3 start off. Talk about how Death Roll's changed. Because I'm only new. I only came on this semester actually. It's my first semester.
yeah. Actually, before let's get started, how about you two kind of introduce yourselves and a little bit about your kind of presence in the kind of Death Roll's team environment and the larger University of Florida's Splatoon program.
Yeah, I'm B3. I've been around since our first semester playing together. That was season 3. Back then we were Storm Cells. After that, I wound up becoming the game organizer of the Splatoon program at UF and have stuck around on Death Roll since. I play support on the team, and I actually just graduated this semester, so we'll be passing it on to Random. Random will be taking over UF from here on out.
I am Oculus. I'm I guess a junior with UF. I guess I play support on the team. I used to play competitive Splatoon for 2 years before retiring for like 6 months, but UF kind of like brought me back on to playing competitive Splatoon again through the UF Splatoon club, and I was like, well, why not? And yeah, here I am. I played in CCA. All that happened, and yeah, I play support on the team, kind of just like a mix of like leveraging, I guess, my past experience from the team because I used to play on like 2 different teams in the past. I've coached a few teams in the past before, Luau and Eggshells. I think it was Div 2 that I got in Ludi like years ago, but I can't quite remember. It's been literal years. I was a Splatoon 2 veteran, so
yeah.
Yeah, this is my first Splatoon 3 competitive thing.
Hey, that's exciting.
Welcome to the game. But kind of starting off, while the University of Florida has always had a presence here in the CCA, it really hasn't been until your bombastic placement in fall's entry exam that shot you to the top of the list of Div 1 competitors. Could you talk us a little bit through about the changes that your program has seen throughout the last half of the year, and how you both have kind of adapted? How exactly has the new Death Roll adapted and built upon the legacy of players from previously, and how has newer players such as Oculus added to the environments that you've cultivated?
Yeah, so I mean, changes from last semester, from last spring to fall. We had one of our players graduated, and we had somebody, Husker or Andrew, had played on Grisco Gators before, and he was really just an absolute standout player. And Nico Chico started at our school, so we promoted them both to Death Roll, and that's really what helped us do so well because they're both so incredibly talented. Not to mention that Nitro started playing competitive with Storm Cell's Death Roll, but a few months prior to that, he had started playing in competitive on his own too, and very quickly got FTIU banned and even got Lowink banned even a few months later. So a lot of people, we had a combination of both new players coming in that really helped us get a lot stronger, as well as some of our older veteran players really improving a lot. And more recently, since last semester, we had Henlo came on. He's been at UF for a while, but hasn't really had the time to commit to CCA. He's always been interested, it seems, but this was his graduation semester. He had a lighter course load, so he was able to make it work, and said he really enjoyed it. Said he wished that he had joined us sooner. Oculus, of course, joined us as well. Has been an amazing presence on the team too. Oculus can tell you more about his own
Yeah.
journey. And
Yeah, it's been certainly something. I was like under like the. I'm going to be honest. I was under the initial impression that CCA was going to be very easy because I'd like come from like a background in the past of like playing against like some like the top teams, in like
Yeah,
North
yeah.
America before. I think gosh, I played like um I think it was Madhouse that I played with like back in the day, long time ago, and I was used to playing against a lot of like really high level teams, and I was like expecting, oh, with collegiate teams, like it's like most people are gonna be playing casually or whatever. So like when we were seated like Div 1, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like something, and then like the teams got harder and harder. And I'm like, oh, actually, we need to actually try because I
yeah,
will be honest, like some of the teams I've played against, like here now, it's like it's very refreshing, honestly, to be back to competitive Splatoon, playing against like a lot of teams like who actually like like they know what they're doing. Like you see the way they play. It's like, oh, they're like actually making decisions. Like they're coordinated.
Hmm.
You can see what's going on going through their heads. I mean, like even like PSU, like when we played against them in finals, like the more I reflect back on it, the more I'm like those are like plays you only make that when you're not only playing well, but like you're absolutely in the zone, but playing out of your mind.
Hmm.
So it's like it's very like refreshing to like be back in all of this, I guess.
Yeah, a little bit following up with that. How does the collegiate scene kind of feel compared to kind of the larger scene that you're a part of? Like, again, you spoke about like, being a little bit surprised about some of the difficulties there. But did you notice anything else with kind of just
Honestly, not
the
really
focus on
different.
collegiate?
No, it's not really. It's not as different as I expected. It's surprisingly similar to Ludi. Like I think that there's like a very like different mentality. I think because the collegiate scene is more contained, you'll see more like niche comp variants. You'll see things that aren't like always like super hyper meta
Hmm.
because you aren't always going to see like how do I put it? Like when you look at like when you have like a lot more players, whatever is the best thing is like always going to be at the top. But when you have like more weird niche comps, even like the best meta, like even like the best meta isn't going to be able to necessarily like hard counter that, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
I mean, if we were just looking at CCA to figure out which team comps are good, you would think that Custom Explode double V shot
Yeah.
fresh was great. It's
Yeah, it was
not,
like
but
that.
Uh,
Yeah, no, at the thing at large, the meta is like definitely different because you kind of have like this very like, I guess, enclosed like bubble space of what's going on for comms.
yeah.
So it's very
It,
interesting to see like the different decisions the teams make here.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot of times previously, so I won't harp on it. But Collegiate is really just kind of making the best of what you have, because you can't recruit like a specific weapon role or specific like player type. You really just kind of have to look at your roster of players and be like, okay, what makes sense and what can I run against other teams and such. It's a really unique problem space, kind of in the larger scene. It
yeah,
breeds some, as you mentioned, some really wacky comps and innovations some people run. But we love it here because.
yeah. I mean, I wound up picking up Splash since I played Splash almost entirely throughout this season. I had never touched it before this semester, but it's just what worked on the team comp. And Oculus can tell you how much we were trying to figure out which weapons he should be playing at the beginning of the
Yeah,
semester.
it was it was very funny because I'd never stuck to a weapon. I was always a flex player. Playing
Mhm.
Splatoon 3 casually, I would always just like switch between I have like what 10, 15 different weapons that are 4-star, and I've never like tried to focus on any one in particular. In Splatoon 2 when I played competitive, I was a K Pro player, Kensa Pro, and V Mini player. Um and because like Zimmy was actually pretty decent in this game, I did gravitate towards it. So I did also start like trying to touch Dread because I was like, I really like midline support. It's sort of the type of gameplay that I tend to gravitate for, like area, like zoning out people, area control, like controlling the map, controlling paint, that sort of thing is like what I tend to gravitate towards in my playstyles. So Dread I naturally gravitated towards, but then I realized, oh, I really like playing Zimmy, and so I then like started just playing Zimmy more and more, and then I started getting really good at it, and I just sort of stuck with it pretty much. So I've now
Yeah,
kind of become a Zimmy one trick with like flex options as well.
Nice, nice. So,
Yeah, I mean, makes sense on that front. Really like
hmm
your Splatoon 2 mentions as well. As someone who got my start in competitive back in Splatoon 2, Collegiate Splatoon 2, in fact. The very first tournament I ever played in was actually a CCA event. I think it was like the second or third tournament that they ran. And my favorite weapon from that game is probably K-Pro by far. It's just such a fun kit, such a lot of shenanigans you can pull with it.
The 49.99 damage.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All the MPU you had to throw on stuff like that. Oh my gosh, I feel
MPU.
I feel so old talking about that because no one knows what we're talking about.
I was in high school. I was in high school still.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
was like
I
in
mean,
10th
yeah.
grade or something. I
No,
was
that would
10th,
make
11th
sense.
grade, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. But love to hear about some of that too. Really love to hear some of the starts we've had. But let's take a look back at what happened last fall, though, in particular. Given your placements in the fall, a lot of eyes have been following you all, especially more, and your team's progress. And we kind of were wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about the larger scene's reaction to what many would consider to be a new and improved death roll, and how have things been different from previous years and talking with other collegiate players with this context in mind?
I mean, admittedly, I mean, Oculus can't really talk on this because he's new. I was never really super into the CCA scene until maybe halfway through last semester, so I can't really compare it to previous seasons because I never really met with people outside of UF that much. But I think that in Div 1 throughout most of the season, we were kind of an alright team. We were usually making the bracket stage of any given circuit, but we weren't usually making it very far. So we weren't expecting all that much when we went into finals, but we were very pleasantly surprised to beat VCU and PSU, who were both, I think those were both our first times playing against them. We had a pretty wacky comp. I think that helped us out a lot. I think they just weren't ready for us. I think PSU got revenge on us on that front. But yeah, that was kind of a big surprise for us that we were able to do so well, and so we were pretty optimistic coming into our next season that we would be able to keep up that momentum, especially with people like Oculus and Henlo coming in to kind of round out our team and maybe let us play a little bit more traditionally.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
In terms of how other people looked at us, it was very interesting to suddenly have a lot of people paying attention to us. I remember at the beginning of the season, a lot of my friends were saying like, "Oh yeah, this season is just going to be VCU and Death Roll." We were wrong, but yeah, it was interesting. I think part of it was Henlo coming on because he's a pretty well-known player and attracting a lot of attention because we had already done so well. But I think that we have improved a lot over this season. Death Roll, we've practiced more together in this season than we probably have every other season combined. Um, so we improved a lot, and I think that really just goes to show how much every other team has improved too, because we were really close against Arcali and VCU. We won one set against VCU. We lost a set. We were 5-4 against Arcali. Just everybody really did amazing. So I hope that the takeaway is that, I mean, we kind of got a visual improvement with our new players and a better team comp, but I hope that the takeaway is that CCA Div 1 is really competitive and there's a lot of really good teams there.
Yeah. Kind of a spur of the moment question, but like, how was it mentally kind of preparing yourself for some of these matches? And like, was there any pressure on you both to kind of perform at the kind of what the community had expected out of Death Roll, especially after
Oh
kind
yeah,
of your performance?
for me at least, it was less so of a community expectation. It was more, I really wanted to improve on my result from last season because that kind of showed me I was pretty casual with Splatoon 3 prior to that. I mean, I obviously played and tried with Death Roll, but I didn't practice too much outside of that, and so I got really involved in competitive outside of Collegiate to make sure that I would be able to keep up with the team. So I felt a lot of pressure to do well. I know Oculus would get a little bit nervous before some of the matches.
Yeah, same here because I hadn't played like proper sets in a really long time, so I would definitely get like the pre-game like jitters. That
Hmm.
was that was just something like with each game it actually got easier. With each set it got easier and easier for me to deal with, especially doing more tournaments because it's also a matter of stamina too. Because after you're playing a lot of like very like high strong, high intensity games like in a row, like you actually get like mentally tired. Like especially if you like play in like tournaments as well. Like you'll notice this more in tournaments rather than like
Hmm.
sets of best of 9 or best of 7, best of 5 or whatever. Um, you definitely get like exhausted quite quickly. But for me, like I didn't really like. I'll be 100% honest. I didn't even know you guys had a podcast until you invited me.
All
So
good.
I don't like pay attention to
Come
a
on,
lot that's
I
going on. I'm like
I
I'm
sent out a
like
ping when I was on it last time. You knew.
oh yeah, okay, now I remember. Okay. Because I don't pay attention to like the community at large. I'm just kind of like, oh, there's a tournament I can play in. Cool. Okay.
Whoa.
Let's just do that. Like
How
it's like, oh,
dare
we're gonna
you?
play this. Yeah. Like I'm just kind of like that one meme where it's like I do not know why I'm here, but I know I must kill.
Yeah, real supportive teammate over
But
here.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
basically it was also like less community expectation, more personal expectation because I was like I know what I can do and I know what I can perform to, so I'm kind of like trying to hold myself up to that standard. So I'm like trying to like get back to what I used to, and I think I'm almost there. I just
Hmm.
kind of need to
Yeah.
I just need to like grind out the game more basically and like play more in teams, communicate and whatnot. So I'm
Yeah,
like holding myself up to like that personal expectation. That made me nervous. That made
from
like really stress me out.
yeah, I mean for me also, we were Death Roll last spring. We were a Div 2 team. We didn't even make playoffs. Um, the team as a whole improved a lot in fall, but I really didn't practice that much in between then. So I was kind of lagging behind in fall. Um, and so Div 1 has a lot of really good players. I improved a lot in between seasons, and even still, I was Div 6 this last Ludi season. A lot of people in Div 1 are a lot higher Ludi Div than Ludi Div 6. So it's a little bit of pressure to keep up and make sure that I'm really in the zone so that I can keep up with my team and handle threats.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess kind of a question, sort of building off of that, like, if anything, did your team choose to prioritize, what like, sorry, I'm like tripping over my words. Did your team
You're
choose to
good.
prioritize during the months leading up to the league season 6 after the circuit? Was there any practicing of any kind? Was, like, I know you were kind of alluding to that a little bit, B3, but
Hmm.
what did the team really do before season 6 to build upon themselves?
Honestly, I don't think that we, as a team, were able to practice that much over winter break. Um, we practiced a little bit before the league season during the semester. That was kind of complicated. It was we had a hiccup in the beginning when Oculus said that he was going to try out because we had a team of 6 going into the season, and suddenly Oculus and Henlo, or we had a team of 5 coming in, then suddenly Oculus and Henlo wanted to come in. We don't need 7 people, so we had to figure out how we wanted to handle that situation, and that slowed down our practice a little bit. I don't think it really made a difference, but
It didn't. I don't think it did either.
no, we've mainly been doing scrims with other Div 1 teams, done a couple tournament runs.
No,
We actually
absolutely.
we were just in the most recent Procar video. Uh,
Oh,
Oh yeah, we
really?
were.
yeah.
I noticed that.
So
We
was
were
so
in
was
like one
PSU
set.
Blue, and so was Big Fat Sea Cows. They included actually a clip of he included a couple clips from an SOS run that we had where we played against, it was us and Comrade, because Comrade was subbing for
Okay.
Nitro against Big Fat Sea Cows. We did lose the set unfortunately, but it's okay because we beat them in semis.
Heck yeah. No, that's the important part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of speaking of some of those teams, could you talk us through some of your notable rivals this past academic year? Do either of you have any notable comments on the team, such as like Arcali, Big Fat, or PSU?
You have any thoughts, Oculus?
So Big Fat Sea Cows, we played against them twice, if I recall correctly, right? Yeah,
Yes, we did.
they were quite tough to play against. I remember. I think like after PSU, I think they were one of the hardest teams that we had to like face against because I think they actually like improved significantly even after we played against them.
Mhm.
Like after we played against them the first time, because I think they wanted revenge
Yeah,
after like, beating them in pools. So that was
yeah.
certainly something. And
I would. Mhm.
PSU was also like quite complicated for us. Oh, sorry. I should let you speak. I don't want to like
No, you go ahead.
interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, PSU was quite difficult for us because one of the big things our team was having trouble with was communicating and like figuring out like there's like a person on flank. So like one of us will like say something and then like the rest of us will not listen and then we'll have like one
Oh no.
person on flank that just like kills all of us. So
Yes.
that was definitely a big obstacle. So like for us that was very difficult for us to handle because their brush player, I think it was Snow, is their brush
No,
player.
that was J Money.
Okay, that was Jay, yeah, who was their brush player on the other team, and they made our life very difficult.
Yes. Unfortunately, our biggest weakness as a team is PSU's strength. Uh,
Yeah.
PSU's
but
blue.
yeah, I would say that for me at least, my biggest rivalry that I felt was with VCU, and I think the same was true for Nitro and Nico, who were around last season. Um, because we beat them in quarterfinals of circuit finals and then lost 0-6 in grand finals and bracket reset. I really wanted to beat them again. Unfortunately, actually, I didn't get to play in semis against them because they were running double stamp. I was talking to Fox afterwards, and he was saying, "Oh, they should have run you into us. Crab would have done really well into us." And I was like, "Dude, you're playing the second Ultra Stamp weapon. It is your fault that I didn't play."
That's
But
insane. That's funny.
yeah. But I'd say VC is probably our biggest rival. Arcali is another team that we were really excited to play against. Personally, I was really hoping, uh, going into watching PSU Blue versus Arcali in semis, I was really hoping Arcali would win because Arcali was the team that we played against in winners finals of circuit. We were able to beat them, and they're a really awesome team. I love them. In finals, in our second game or first game, Nitro was hosting, and we had a host DC, so they should have taken the game, or they should have been able to take the game, but they agreed to gentlemen to replay it for us, and we wound up winning the game. So, but I'm really grateful to them for being good sports about that and letting us play because it would have been a little bit lame if we just didn't get to play the game in that game. But yeah, also a really talented team that we were really excited to play against.
I don't
PSU,
remember my sets too well, but Arcali, I just remember them being fun to play against. I do
they
remember
were
that
really fun to
explicitly.
play against. Yeah, that was our second to last groups match that we went 5-4 against. Um, PSU Blue was interesting because their team has changed a decent amount. It feels like Vapor obviously Vapor coming in was a big and they've all improved quite a lot, especially Jay. Jay has improved a lot since last season. Like the way that he played when we fought against them last season versus now, completely different. Like I wouldn't recognize it at all. Um, but with them, we had a really close set. We wound up reverse sweeping them when Nitro went on Blaster, so that's why Nitro played Blaster a little bit into them in finals. But yeah, we were really nervous to play against them. We did a lot of prep work for them, and that probably reflects in our interesting comp choices.
Yeah, I mean, while you did lose at the end of the day, just being
Hmm.
able to kind of push yourselves further with some of these absolutely like top of the CCA competitors here is always amazing to see. And it's also
Hmm.
great to kind of hear a little bit of the respect and admiration you have for your opponents too. Kind of as we mentioned throughout the circuit, it's been this cluster of teams like you, Arcale, PSU, Death Roll, not I mentioned you twice, has just kind of been this dominant force that's defined so many of the Division One storylines. And for
Hmm.
the audience, it's just been fantastic to watch all these fantastic matches and such.
Hmm.
So yeah, Oma, anything?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I completely agree there. Like seeing how fierce a lot of this competition has become, especially I mean, in my experience, seeing like just all of the evolution of Division One, like we've seen like some absolute like titans pop up just out of nowhere for like a season or two, and then they kind of just go their separate ways for, I mean, their own life reasons. Maybe people graduated, maybe something else happened,
Mhm.
but just seeing like how that has all evolved and being able to see like a team, I mean, especially like yours that had slightly more humble beginnings at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
Being able to evolve to like we like legitimately almost won like the highest division of collegiate Splatoon. Like that's really cool.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
Yeah.
But no, it's
Actually,
awesome.
arguably,
Yeah.
arguably this was our worst season because it's the only season that we haven't gone up a division. Every other season, Death Roll has gone up a division.
We should have had
We started
CCA
off in Div 4.
DivX. We should have had
And
We
I
should have
still
had a
DivX.
CCA
remember,
Div X.
I still remember playing you in Div 3 all those seasons ago.
Krona, was that the Div? Oh wait, no, I was Div 2. I've never been below Div 2. I've only ever been Div 2.
Oh
Mhm.
wow, look at you all high and mighty
Yeah.
over there.
I was trying to
Well, you know
remember
what?
if
I
it was
won
season
Division 3 twice, so
3.
deal with that. Huh?
Death Roll has gotten. We've played 5 seasons. We've gotten top 3 in 4 of those. We've gotten top 2 in 3 of those, and top 1 in 0 of those.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
No, that's fun. But um, I also kind of want us to bring us a bit full circle here, starting to wind down maybe the conversation here, but we'll see. What does collegiate Splatoon mean to both of you? Not just on like a larger scale, like with the team, but also on a personal scale too.
You want to go first, Oculus?
Yeah, I actually have a few ideas on how to talk about this. Because like one of the great things, I think that this generally comes with like any hobby in general, right? But I feel like big group activities, big tournaments like this, are really good at bringing together a lot of people who like a similar thing, like like chess tournaments, like bring together a lot of chess players, like card game tournaments, whatever, right? Like I feel like CCA has been a really great way for me to just get to know a lot of really cool people that I wouldn't have otherwise. Before in the past, when I played like Splatoon, competitively, I would always just like my friend group would be my Splatoon team, and that was it. I would never really go out of my way. But I feel like with a lot of like, I guess like the communication that you guys have going on, and like the sort of like slightly more tight knit community you guys have going on with CCA, like there's actually a lot of people that I've gotten to meet recurringly who are like super nice that I've just gotten to talk to. Whereas opposed to if I'm like, talking to people at the scene at large, there's like just so many like people, it's hard to really like pin down like one group you would want to stay with and like keep on recurring with and talking to and whatnot. If that like, if that makes any sense.
No, I
Because like
completely
this is
follow.
kind of yeah, like this is just kind of the most social that I've kind of been with anyone ever in like the Splatoon scene. Like like now I'm like, talking to more people, DMing people for like trims, like looking for like 8 servers, that type of thing. It's also been a great time for just like improving my like, just mental acuity, which is something that I feel like it's just been lacking as of late. Like just kind of something to get my brain just going and fired up. I mean, it's just been great for like this is going to sound ironic, right? But it's been actually great for my mental health, playing this game with other people. Like just having a team like that we do like something like dedicated, like we have a dedicated like scheduled activity and we all just kind of like do it together, and we have like this group collaborative activity that we put a lot of effort and a lot of love into, and just this sort of like whole sense of camaraderie we have going on. And that's something that I'm like kind of like super appreciative of, because this whole kind of like I guess like I guess I would call it a social system we have going on here has like been very good for like just getting us all together to do this cool thing and make new friends and that sort of stuff. You know.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. For me, it's been interesting also kind of winding up almost by accident as the leader of the Splatoon org at UF, I was never interested in esports. I had played in Ludi in like one season during Splatoon 2, but we were super casual. I think we only won one set, and it was because our other team didn't show up. It was Div 5, so that is still technically my peak Ludi placement. um, but I was never into esports at all. So I thought it was. I wound up leading the UF Splatoon division of Gator Esports just because I was the only one that had any previous competitive experience in our original group. I thought it was almost comically weird that I wound up in an esports org. Um, but I've gotten a lot of really good experience leading the group. It's been really rewarding to be able to kind of develop it into a social club and get people interested in Splatoon. I know at least a few people that are playing competitive now only because they started playing with us in UF Splatoon. Well, Oculus, you've played it before, but I know other
Yeah,
people, like
but
for
like
example,
I wouldn't have gone back into competitive Splatoon though
yeah,
if it weren't for if it weren't for this club though.
I
I would have
mean,
stayed like I would just stay playing casually.
yeah, I mean, Nitro plays on Heyman. He started because he played with us. Bepsi, Random, Husker are all into competitive now. They're really excited about it. Um, and I think that it was because we got to get them started here, which I'm really grateful to have played a part in. Um, and it's been a really great way for me to make friends both in my school and outside of it. Um, I've met quite a lot of people actually from the wider collegiate scene that have become really close friends of mine very quickly. And even like I realizing fairly recently, a few months ago, that I'm queer, and like even just being involved in this scene, I having so many friends in here. A lot of people are similar, surprising to no one, and that has actually been hugely helpful for me in helping to figure myself out, having that support system that I don't know that I would have had otherwise. I graduated this semester. I'm hoping to move out of Florida in the next year or two, and knowing people all over the country that I feel comfortable and safe with, and people that I can hang out with online, that makes me really optimistic that I'll be able to go find somewhere else and adjust there a lot easier. So it's been really positive for me, even outside of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I completely vibe with pretty much everything both of you
Mm-hmm.
put out there. I think what's really cool about just the collegiate Splatoon scene as it currently is, how it's been even for a while now, is just how well connected everyone is and the amount of opportunities there are to just really meet people that I think for the most part it's fair to say everyone will click decently well with. And it's partly through maybe shared life experiences, maybe it's through just the enjoyment of the game, right? Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
like solving the puzzles that your opponent will throw at you, or just like having fun and playing the silly squid game, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I completely vibe with all of that. I had a similar experience going throughout college. Like, I wouldn't be here if collegiate Splatoon wasn't a thing, to be completely real with you too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't think I would have ever
same.
gone in competitive at all.
Yeah, same
Yeah.
for sure. Like I think like the one thing that like I guess binds a lot of like competitive players, I guess in any scene, is I think we all just have like a passion
Mhm.
for the game, like
Mm-hmm.
just a passion for something that we can all kind of share. And when you get like a lot of like passionate people, it's very easy for you to just kind of like play off of each other's passion, like everyone hyping up one another, and kind of sharing that energy with each other.
Yeah. I also think that collegiate in particular, even more so than the competitive scene in general, makes that a lot easier. I was actually talking about this extensively with Comrade a few weeks ago, so if you're interested in hearing more, you should go back and watch what 2 weeks ago's
So
podcast because
true.
I was here. This is my second time in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But just being involved, something about being involved in collegiate Splatoon specifically makes it so much easier to talk to people. Like anybody that you run into, you may recognize their name. You're like, oh, you're on this team. That's awesome, and it makes it so much easier to talk to them. There have been people that I don't have any mutual friends with, and I wound up just talking to them a bunch because it's so easy to talk about, like, if we're in the same division, we can talk about the other teams and like our plans for playing against them. Even for people that I'm not in the same division with, we all kind of know what's going on, so it's just such easy topics of conversation. We can say, yeah, this team is really annoying to fight against. I hate them. uh, Thinking about some teams in particular.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Um,
I hate them. No, I hate them more.
Yeah, it's honestly well said, both of you. I think that's like one of the best answers you can give to this type of question. I think
Mhm.
the collegiate scene is very it's a very unique place within the larger scene, and it allows for a lot of this camaraderie between different teams, different players, different programs, and such. And it's as a person who both has a foot in the both the player and the TO aspect, it's wonderful to see on both cases. But yeah, Almost, do you have any final questions for our lovely guest?
I don't think I really do personally, but I do want to throw it your way if you all have any like questions, even for us, just things you want to talk about, or
Yep.
if you just want to go ahead and plug yourselves.
You know, you know, V3, do you know what'd be really fun? I don't know if I can can I show like because okay, so when we were planning for fighting for fighting Penn State for playing PSU, I actually made like I went to Sundo.inc and I made plan documents for like every single map mode.
Oh, he did.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's kind of
let me see if
base.
I can find. Let me see if I can find one of them. It should be in our.
Oh, I don't know that we
I'll
have
put it in
screen
the thing.
sharing on here. I don't know that you can show them to the stream.
No, I have like screenshots. Yeah,
We
so
I don't
can
like
know that
this
we
is
have a
like
way
maybe
to put those on.
we can maybe throw something together, but if you can
Mhm.
yeah.
find it, feel
Yeah.
free.
Let me. I'll
Yeah,
put it in the private chat for the thing.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
Yeah.
this was one of like the maps we did for all the map modes.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, let's go ahead and just
I
toss
have a
this on
lot
the
of
screen
arrows.
real quick.
Yeah, we did prepare a lot for the PSU match.
Yeah.
Let me see if
Any
I was at dinner with Henlo because we have some mutual friends that we were there for a birthday for, and I was sitting next to him and he turns to me and he's like, "What do you think about Luna into PSU?" This was the day before our match. I was like, or this was 2 days before our match. I'm like, sure, man. So we practiced it in our scrim and we wound up using it. Um,
Yeah, and this is also like I was like talking to Henlo one night. It was like maybe like 2 in the morning, and I was like, no, Henlo, I kind of want to like play like a support weapon that has a special that has more range than Bubbler. So not a Bubbler weapon, but I don't want to play Splash because B3 already plays Splash. So like, what should I do? And then I was like thinking like Paintbrush might be interesting because there's like
no,
missiles.
no.
And then he was like, no, dude, like, what about Flingset? And I was like, wait, I played Flingset before. Like, I tried it. And the Flingset, to be fair, it worked very well. So, I mean, yeah. And I also said, like, a second one. The second one was my favorite because of how I named every single weapon. We have, what did I call this?
Oh
I
my
made,
god. Cringe missile spammer. Also, I watch all of our flanks. If we get flanked, it's my fault.
we got Murder Death and Murder Death 2 Electric Boogaloo. But annoying to approach.
Mhm.
I kind of these were half meme and like half like serious because it was like I think we all knew what we kind of wanted to do, but just so we kind of had like a talking basis for when we were doing our script.
It's always interesting to see the inner workings of teams because everyone does the
Yeah,
same thing, but everyone does it in such a unique and
slightly different.
interesting way to their own personalities that it's always entertaining.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, anything you two would want to plug before we let you off the stage here?
Uh, yeah, go follow me on Blue Sky B3-SPL and twitch.tv/B31JS. I don't stream very often. You got anything, Oculus?
No, I don't have. I used to stream. I don't. I have to like. I don't know where my capture card is. So I don't think I could even stream if I wanted to. So
Go talk to Oculus about Rain
Oh.
World or Toontown.
It's
that's
nice.
true.
So.
I could plug about it because I am actually a developer on a private server at the moment. So or not a private server, but
Ooh,
an unreleased server. So that's something I'm
nice.
working on.
Fun, fun.
So ask me
Yeah.
about that if you're interested. I don't want to like plug it here on the stream because, but you can
Yeah.
ask me about it. DM me on Discord. I'm very accessible in Discord. So
Yeah. Well, thank you too so much for joining us for this interview. It's been lovely to talk to both of you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. That was really fun.
yeah, it's been
Of
great. Yeah,
course.
it's been really fun. I was initially very nervous at first. I was like, oh, but like 34 minutes. Like I thought it was just gonna be like quick 10
A
minutes
10
or like
minute.
something.
Yeah.
Like no,
Here we talked for nearly 40.
yeah, but
Yeah,
no,
you
it went
nailed
by
it.
like faster than I expected. Like it just kind of breezed by. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's very
Yeah.
chill. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for having
Always.
us.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
having us.
Thank you.
Really
Of
appreciate
course.
it.
It's
It's quite
always
fun.
entertaining and great to talk to the other collegiate folks. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well,
And make
yeah.
sure to cheer us on in the Collegiate Crossfire event this
Oh,
Saturday, right?
true.
We are doing that. I forgot
Ooh.
this Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Thank you for
weekend.
the plug again. So, yeah, you can
Absolutely.
catch them this Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern on Apple or CCA.
Very,
Oh, I
very
thought it was
true.
Saturday. That's good to know. Okay.
Definitely recheck those
Yeah.
dates. Make sure you got those notifications on your phone.
Yeah, sure of that one. I need to go double check to make sure I have the right date now. Anywho, thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you off the stage now. So,
Yeah.
All right.
All
Thank you.
right.
All right.
All right.
Bye
Thanks for
bye.
having us. Bye.
Bye
bye.
bye.
Go Gators.
All right. And let's go ahead and just double check that Collegiate Crossfire date. Yeah, Sunday,
It says
May
Sunday.
18th.
Okay.
1 p.m. ET.
Thank you, Dira, for always giving us nerves about talking about this date.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you got that initial level of like jank, and just the fact that it's an international event, so like
Yeah,
everyone has
times are already
to.
screwed.
Yeah, everyone's already a little bit all over the place, but hey, it's still fun.
What is the CCA without a little bit of jank, right?
Yeah, what are we gonna do with ourselves without both the jank and also just the silly goofiness that so many of us hold dear?
Yeah, but whew. Well, that was a great interview. Fantastic to talk with Death Roll again, and a great conversation. Really, I really want to harp on again how fantastic of an answer that was to our final question about Collegiate Splatoon. I think like B3 just basically hit the entire nail on the head. And as she was talking, I'm like, I resonate with so much of that being as a player as well and such.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I definitely have met some of the closest friends I've ever made through just Splatoon in general, and I've been able to just have some of the even like deepest conversations with other Splatoon people. That's not something I ever
oh,
really
OmaZen, I'm one of
experienced.
your closest friends. That's so kind of
Yeah. Definitely,
you.
yes.
Well, I think we should probably get on to our next segment, shall we?
Yeah, so I mean, considering the fact that podcast has been going for what we could technically consider like, I mean, not even technically, it's just like 4 seasons worth of content. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, like there's quite a lot to talk about. For those of you who may not be aware, and you're watching at this point in the podcast, this is actually going to be kind of a like mostly send off for me and Krona from the podcast, barring any like odd like reappearances maybe in the future if we feel like doing it maybe. But
hmm
um yeah, we're
We're
gonna
we're best we're stepping down, hopefully trying to hand it off to someone a little bit younger who's got this what's the word I'm looking for? The pizzazz, the spunk for this job.
yeah, the spunk for the job. And I mean, like, we're both graduated or graduating soon, and like our time in collegiate's basically come and gone. So I think it's really the most fair for someone who is just more either directly involved actively in everything going on in the CCA and specifically just all the team storylines to be more involved, or just someone who is like actually in that pair of shoes themselves, right? So
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, no one wants these old fossils speaking on forever about CCA League season 9 or 10.
yeah, no, I think I would actually be a fossil. Like this wouldn't be me on the screen right now. It would be Oma. It would be like an actual like skeleton if we were doing that. But nevertheless, we kind of wanted to recap some moments from both this past school year, moments from just the CCA and podcast as well in general, and kind of go a little bit down memory lane with a few different top threes and just favorite moments as a whole. So, I think I'll go ahead and get it started, unless if you have anything you want to shout out, Krona, moving into this.
No, by all means, jump us off so we can yap all we want.
Absolutely. So, Um, to start us off, it's kind of like a favorite moment or set of favorite moments. And my joke one was that League Season 6 is finally over. I don't know what it was about this past season. I just, like, was so ready for it to be done or, like, playoffs to just happen. But
Wow, what a
I,
bad staff member
I
you are.
know, but it, there really was a lot of really cool, things to be seen, and I think what it more so had to do with just was like the culmination of everything, because we had a bit of a irregular school year with circuit being in the fall instead of another league season, right? And we went about it earlier and in some of our previous talks both with each other and death roll, but there were a lot of like unique storylines that were able to come out of that, and seeing a lot of that culminate in the playoffs and grand finals was really cool. So um, that's really what that all comes down to, and I'm happy that a lot of teams were able to kind of see through a lot of their different stories that they were looking to kind of just be fulfilled in some way, shape, or form. And like, I think it was a really entertaining season overall at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
my actual one was the how many like more collegiate lands are kind of just popping up
Oh
around the
my God,
country.
yeah.
For the longest time, at least from my somewhat limited frame of reference and also being like a fossil, was that there was the Purdue land, which was kind of like a smaller showing in the grand scheme of things. It wasn't like that big of a land, but it was like, I don't know, I guess enough people maybe cared about it, right? But this past year, they were able to run it again, and this was the first year that I wasn't technically directly involved. I did end up helping in some capacities, but I wasn't the one necessarily running the show exclusively. And just seeing like how much a lot of that scene has grown in particular too has been really cool. And outside of just even Purdue, like you've had a lot of other lands pop up, some of them a bit more casual than others, but some of them also trying to reach kind of like their own local height. For instance, I believe there was like a PSU LAN. UNCG came back. That was bigger, better than ever. And there was also a CCA road trip, which happened again. That was really cool to see. And
Yeah.
there was the UC Invitational, I believe.
Yeah. That was not a land though, that was online.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure, right?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna be completely honest off
Oh
the top of my
well.
head. Oh well, but
Land local
land
land
local,
there.
whatever. Yeah, but it's been really cool to just see how much representation there's been, especially at like all the different land invitational events that have been happening
Yeah.
from the championship that Falco helped run. There were a lot
I
of
was, I
like,
was gonna I said I was gonna bring that up because
yeah,
there's been a lot of collegiate showings for those too. And
mm,
it's no secret that we posted all the photos of all the collegiate people showing up too.
yeah,
Um, you know, it's really easy to like forget that there's a lot of like in person relationships in this community too. Show up to LAN, see players from a few different colleges you don't usually see. It has to be, you were saying, you have that common ground of communication and stuff. But yeah, sorry to steal
no,
point
no, you're
point there.
completely right though. But I think like building off of that too, like a lot of those people are just more incentivized to like pursue a lot of those opportunities too. Like, would you rather show up to the LAN with a bunch of people you don't really know, or would you rather show up to the LAN with like your actual college friends that you are also on a college team with, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like neither of those are necessarily poor experiences, especially the latter, but like it's really cool to see just how much all that's grown, and we're seeing like a lot of evolution and just a culmination of everything like that has been kind of simmering for a while, I would argue. Season 2 and 3 in particular, there was a lot of like initial growth and just people jumping to the scene and attempting to get themselves like established. Season 4 and 5 was kind of like the okay, we're growing up now. And then I feel like Circuit in season 6 was like, okay, we actually like are fully locked in now. We are all sort of veterans in our own ways, right? We get the deal, we get the shtick. Let's try to win it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool to see, just that evolution, because that's never really been like documented in the way it has been with us so far. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, to kind of jump off your point, I want to talk a little bit about mine. And the person I really had was something you again. I got angry at you early in the show for mentioning, but just how competitive the circuit was. Having 5 unique Division 1 winners is absolutely insane, and really set the groundwork for so many of these fantastic storylines throughout the entire like academic year. A lot of those stuff were then kind of built upon in that absolute wonderful CCA circuits finals events. I thought the 2 day structure was fantastic, especially that double elimination bracket brought so many fantastic opportunities that you just don't usually see with stuff like circuit, or not circuit, with league and such. You know, at the end of the day, it is just different teams have different environments in which they excel and seed in, and to be able to offer them this more spontaneous one with the circuit and this more long endeavor with the league was something that I thought was fantastic and really brought some great storylines and notes with it throughout the season. And the final thing I wanted to mention is just, as always, the support and the admiration for the CCA League reveal show is always fantastic to see. It's always such a staple at this point, and while there hasn't been any funny memes come from this year and such, it's always fantastic to see the community come together for this monumentous event, and just give it a really good send off start for the season. It's always fantastic to watch, whether you're in a call with friends in person or just looking on your phone by yourself. It's always something to behold. So
No, I agree there completely. I think I have like 2 comments there. So like first off, I think it was really cool, especially with Circuit, seeing how day 1 played out in particular too. I think the modified Swiss format was so entertaining and cool because it wasn't like true double elim like or single elim like you're just out if you lose once. It's like you have wiggle room to play with. And it created this really interesting kind of like bracket structure for a lot of teams to go through this really crazy gauntlet that was high pressure and intensity, and something that I don't think we've really ever seen before still in the greater scene for the most part in the same way. And it's something that I hope that the rest of the community takes notes on. I'm gonna like call it Magic here briefly. Like Magic is constantly, or not constantly, but just like he gets on his high horse every now and then, but like he's constantly spitting facts about just where the scene really needs to go, how it needs to evolve, and what they need to do. And I genuinely believe that like you don't have to do literally CCA circuit format, but like just take some notes on the strengths of it, attempt to apply them to your own events for a major, for just something new even. And I'm sure a lot of the community will at least strongly consider participating in it, or like being curious about it at the very least. And it's something that I hope that we kind of continue to see evolve in the future, with us as well in the circuit, and making adjustments, and also bringing in a lot of features that people liked a lot. So that's that. But then also with the season 6 reveal show, I really think that there was like an additional level of buildup where Circuit never really had the same thing. And what was really cool about the Circuit with it too was that everything was very fluid with your division. A lot of teams kind of typically sticked around the same level, but you did have some ebb and flow there, and it kind of just it was another culmination. It was like everything led into, okay, what are you like going to actually be for the remainder of the school year now? And it was like a kind of nice calibration in a sense. It's like, what if, for League's purposes, entrance exam lasted a whole semester almost? Not literally, but in a sense.
I think a few teams might have something to say on that, but whatever.
Oh well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree with everything you threw out there, of course. Did you want to bring us through our next top 3, Krona?
Sure. So we want to talk a little bit about our favorites, our top 3 combines, storylines throughout this entire active year. So there's a few teams. This is a hard list for me to make because you know me. I always like to yap about whatever team I can because every team is fascinating on its own right. But I did want to give some shout outs to specific teams/programs. The first one was Onsu's Octos and Squids United Scarlet. I got so used to saying the abbreviation, seeing the long name after screwed me up. Mainly, they were kind of a dark horse throughout all of Division 2 in the circuit, but they really put that pedal to the metal during that finals event with 3-2ing both UCSD, EA UCD White and Surging C back-to-back. It's been fantastic to watch this team kind of push themselves further into the further reaches of the CCA, especially after kind of some of their performances in Season 5. So, you know, while League was a bit rougher for them as they finished 4th in Div 2, they've still made such great strides in kind of condensing their team and gameplay throughout this academic year. And I'm personally really excited to see what comes for them next. Any comments on them, Oma?
A few, yeah, definitely. Like Octos and Squids United, and just their whole scene has been really interesting to see how they've grown. I think they've typically always been a relatively upper division team, especially their Scarlet team. But being able to see like them pop off in circuit so much, I remember being on like Crab and Go Copium for a while there, but it ultimately turned into a really decisive Scarlet win. That I think some people just weren't like. I mean, besides me, like some people just didn't see coming at all. And I think it's because that storyline maybe wasn't directly as obvious.
Guess who the only staff person was to pick them for the Division 2 winner spot for Circuit?
It was you, wasn't it? Yeah.
Damn right it was me. You're goddamn
yeah.
right. And you know why I knew it? It was because the WPI team struggled against them so much.
No.
And I'm like, oh god, they got to be cooking something good. But yeah, speaking of qualifiers, there's a trio of teams I want to shout out here. That being the NCC Llamas, Shadow Warriors, and Drexel Gold Splatoon, which are just these constant back and forth teams in Circuit Division 4. They were like this cluster of teams was just constantly pushing each other further and had all these different clashes and tangled of results and such. It was absolutely fantastic to watch all these teams kind of grow together and just kind of the chaos that came out of this group. I think you saw it. I really think like these clashes and circuits led to them having some good performances in the league as well. Nothing like extremely good. I think some of them made playoffs that got out soon, but I still do think a lot of these teams and programs push themselves further because of that. So fantastic to kind of watch and such. Any comments there, Oma?
Yeah, I have to agree with Shadow Warriors. That was probably one of the like funnest teams to follow, especially in circuit. Name aside, like a really just cool, like explosive group. And seeing like new blood come on the scene is always really nice as well. Especially like a school like VCU that, I mean, for the most part has typically had, I believe it's just Spirality, Goomies, and Ink Black or VCU Big Fat Sea Cows, depending on the season.
Yeah, that was their 4th team.
Yeah, so seeing like a 4th team come out of that all was really cool, and they made a statement and they really showed their strengths, and I think that group, wherever they go off, whether it's continuing Shadow Warriors or maybe spinning off a different team at VCU, whatever happens, I think it'll be really cool to see what happens. So, yeah, completely agree with all those choices too.
Yeah, and the final thing I want to shout out, which is all the RIT teams. Once again, RIT has just had such fantastic growth and improvements throughout all their teams in their program down the last year. They've been consistently going above and beyond what's expected of a collegiate team, with just consistently competing in CSCs, other collegiate events, and pushing their teams further. I think you've really seen this with White Prawns and Orange Kois, especially, with Orange Kois kind of taking home that division and with White Prawns really putting up such an interesting fight in Exam 5 and such. So I know I don't think we talk about them enough here. And as a person from a fellow STEM school, I feel like we do, because doing STEM and playing Splatoon is not easy. Let me tell you that. But RET has done a fantastic job, and I really think they kind of deserve some laurels for their performance throughout the track.
Yeah, RIT's always really kicking butt, and I think like this past semester in particular, they locked in a way they've never locked in really as a whole. So it's been really cool to see just how they've all, been able to learn and just really put their skills to the test.
Yeah. You want to give us your top 3, Oma?
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I want to start off with a team that I think in their own way was a dark horse for a little while, and then they really found their footing in playoffs. And this team in particular was H-Town Rebels, another team from Division 2, similar to Octos and Squids United Scarlet, which you called out as your first choice on your list. And there's a lot to say about them. Like, if you actually start looking at the matches, replays, and everything else, they were barely able to squeeze into playoffs as a third rep from Division 2 Group 1. And they had a really tough set of matches they had to go through in their own playoffs run. In particular, they had to fight against Banana Split in quarterfinals after losing to them in a 1-4 week 1 of the league. So that was a rematch. And they were able to ultimately pull off a 5-4 win against them. So they went to Game 9. They barely clutched that out and were able to pull out the win. So, I mean, props to them. And Banana Split, I mean, and this goes for H-Town Rebels too, but Banana Split is like a very classic team in the CCA. They've always consistently been hovering around that Division 1, Division 2 upper tier level. And that's like not an easy fight at all, to say the least. After that, they had to fight Octos and Squids United Scarlet and their semis, who was, once again, a dark horse. So you kind of have dark horse going up against dark horse. And they previously won Division 2 of CCA Circuit, as you mentioned before. And it ultimately culminated in a really tight 5-4 win where they barely squeaked by. And it, once again, like Division 2, like everything was like a 5-4. There were only a few 5-3s. It really came down to the wire, like what team was going to pull off a win, and H-Town was able to pull off those necessary wins in order to move on. And this all ultimately culminated in them being the only... and this all ultimately had to go up against Smash Brothers, who was the only team that didn't have any Game 9 situations. They were able to pull off Game 8 wins against their respective teams on their path to finals. And unfortunately, if you were watching the grand finals stream, it did end in a DC, which is always like really unfortunate to see. No one really likes seeing a loss through that. But for those who were watching, H-Town was really holding it down. Well, they were able to score a lead against Smash Brothers, where there was a window of opportunity where they could have actually held it down and barely lasted through that 3v4. Unfortunately, for them, Smash Brothers was able to take the lead back on, I believe, an Undertow Rainmaker game. So just a really tight showing all around, and it did end in a 2-5, but it was probably one of the closest 2-5s there have ever probably been in the CCA as a whole. So shout outs to H-Town Rebels. You guys had like one of the most insane journeys ever this past season. You had to go through a lot, fight through a lot of really tough fights, but I think you guys, like, your effort really showed for it. So that's a big team I wanted to highlight for my first choice. I yapped there for a while.
It's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good. You covered a lot. Though. I can't. You covered all the bases there.
Mm-hmm. Another team I wanted to talk about, and there's honestly quite a lot to say about them too, is PSU Fish. The fifth rendition of PSU Fish. And this team performed very strongly in circuit finals. I think that I think a lot of people took note of their path originally, but may have forgotten. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay it out again here right now. In circuit, PSU Fish had a really like crazy run where they lost in a 2-3 of day 2 playoffs, and they were able to pull off consistent set wins against all of their opponents into what was loser finals, where they ultimately went down to the Goomies, I believe, in a third place final place. So they really showed that they like had grown a lot, I would argue, through their experience in circuit, and I think that showed itself in how a lot of their performance was in league. In particular, they had a really strong showing in season 6 group stage. They only lost one set to MSU and everything else they had was a pretty decisive win under their belt. And they were also able to get key wins in playoffs against Wave Riders in a 5-4 set. Again, really close set. It's a game 9. And then they were also able to get a follow-up win against the NCCS Splat Llamas in a 5-3 set. A game 8 win. So once again, really tight games, really tight sets all around. And they were able to find themselves in finals where they had to go up against TMU White. And as we covered earlier, TMU White ultimately was able to be the victor in that scenario. I believe it was 1-5 in favor of PSU Fishes. And so TMU White walking away with the win in that situation. But really, they showed that they like were able to grow a lot. They learned a lot, and they were able to apply a lot of that skill throughout just their CCA run this past school year. So if we see them around again, I hope they add another fish to their name.
I mean, what else can they do at this point?
At this point,
6
I don't know.
fishes.
I mean, maybe they'll maybe the fish will evolve. Maybe we'll see like big fish, see a PSU big fish or something like that.
I feel like if it's got to be big fish, it's got to be big with 4 G's.
Big with 4 G's.
Big fish.
No, you're right. 1 G for each previous fish and season they played. Yeah, but nevertheless, really good showing from them.
I give you permission to yap.
You give me permission. So,
Giving you permission to yap.
My last team I want to talk about today, and some people are probably like, "Oh my gosh, this freaking guy, get him out of here." It's gonna be about the Goomies, and I got the Goomies booty shorts. I'm putting them on camera. No one can stop me. And
I think our audience would like if they were on somewhere else on camera.
I think you would. I don't know if about them.
Hey, if anyone's listening, get the OmaZen fan cam going.
The OmaZen
Please,
fan
all
cam.
of us. Yeah.
No way. But regardless, Goomies, like, I think kind of reached a relative peak, which was well deserved with how long they've been involved in the CCA. As the Goomies, they've been around since season 3, I believe, but a lot of the players have been playing since, I think, season 2. So they've like had a really long journey to the point they got to this past school year, and it culminated in them winning Division 3 of Circuit. It led to them having a pretty strong groups session, and like leading into them being able to reach semifinals, where unfortunately they did lose their set there, but they were able to pull out the third place win, following up from a Season 5 third place win in their respective division back then as well. So I think they've just been doing a really good job, everything considered, and as this is their last season that they're going to be all playing together, I think it's a pretty, strong way to go out. I think a podium is nothing to be ashamed about, and it's been just really cool seeing them grow, getting to know some of them at least personally, and just seeing certain things come about. I think it's fair to say that they have one of the strongest legacies overall in the CCA, just from like a team standpoint and perspective. Like if you ask someone, like a collegiate related team, they'll probably name some Div 1 ones, but I think one of the lower division ones that they would name would probably be Gummies, in my opinion. But
Division 3, 4 is lower.
Oh, I guess it's the halfway point now. I'm still thinking about this like
I
there's 6
guess.
divisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SMH.
SMH my head.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah,
they're the
so
goats for
SMH.
real. Gummies are my goats for real. And we made booty shorts, and I think that's pretty cool.
See, if I was a smarter man, this is when I would stand up and reveal that I'm also wearing the Gummies booty shorts. I, in fact, not purchase a pair of them. So, unfortunately, I will not be standing up to reveal the booty shorts.
I'm not gonna lie, like, they're not lying when they call them booty shorts. Like, I'll just say that.
You're just telling our audience that you're caked up, Oma.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
I will now receive how many pings from the TAs you think about that comment?
It doesn't matter. We're shadow banned anyways. /J/S.
Don't say /S.
All right. Well, that does our team top threes. Definitely, there was a lot of really cool storylines that happened this past year, I will say.
Indeed.
But I think that there's one more thing I definitely want to recap on and take a look back on, and it's like some of her favorite podcast moments ever. And I think I have a few different ones, but one that really came to mind at first was for Season 4's logo tier list. I had an intro that wasn't planned at all, and it was like a very like spur of the moment type thing where I had like a college tech. I had to order college textbooks for the semester through Chegg, I think, because that was the only place that had them in stock before, like, by the time I would need them. And they sent them in like a box with all this like Tinder packaging, as in Tinder the dating app, and it's like that's insane that you would do that.
Yeah, a little bit.
I
think I remember that. You went on like a good 2 minutes about it, didn't you?
No, I think I did. I yapped for a while, and DRF was dying.
Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that was a really funny moment. I think, oh man, podcast moments. I think something else that comes to mind was the big Season 4 episode 8 debacle. I was in a co-host on that, but I was doing production on it, and I remember like we closed out like going past the run length of Endgame, right?
Yeah, that was an episode and a half.
Yeah.
We rightfully so got shit for that, but you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Live and let learn, baby.
Yeah.
It was a good discussion, but mistakes were made.
No, I think it was a good discussion for sure. It was just like that's what happens when you put all the yappers together, like literally every single yapper together in a call.
DRF, Snow, myself, Coastal.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It was a cool discussion, though. I mean, when I like on the production side, listening to it all live, I was entertained throughout. But I think like probably halfway through that list segment y'all had, I was like, okay, I can't wait for this to be over. The lists are great. I can't wait for this to be over, though.
I remember in the episode when we switched to a break, because we had like a quick 2-minute break. I sprinted to the bathroom to relieve myself and be like, okay, I gotta lock in again and basically restart the entire podcast process. Yeah. Also, I'm going to interrupt you because another funny moment for this episode happened. One of mine happened in this episode, and it's, do you remember the cut back to us from the break, OmaZen? Do you remember what
Oh,
happened?
oh my gosh! Wait, it was the Weezer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For, for those who haven't watched an episode, I implore you just to go to the second part and watch the first like 30 seconds. You'll
yeah.
just see me hold the Weezer Blue album to the camera and then just chuck it off frame.
You know,
It was so silly and stupid, but you know.
it ironically actually worked not that bad. Like even though like having that break, I don't know if that was even planned from the get go. I think it
I'm
was more
pretty sure.
like
I think we did plan it or
you did plan it.
something.
Okay, I guess it's been too
I think
long,
so.
but I think it was good in that
Year
there
plus.
was a and that I think
Yeah.
it was good in that like you had that clear separation of discussions and topics and everything, and also just like rewatching it because I don't think I would like purposely click onto the like 3.5 hour video and be like, okay, I really want to see this particular top three, and I want to hear like DRF and Krona and Snowy App about
Yeah.
this. If it was the Coastal Squid Surf interview video, you know.
Well, what I do with the podcast episodes, especially the ones I'm not like a lead or producing for or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
not producing, you know what I mean, I'm working on, is that when I have to drive from, Massachusetts to Ohio, 9 hours, not fun. I will sometimes just put them right in the background, and let me tell you, it hits different. Well, first of all, my voice sounds
Oh my
awful. It
gosh.
always does when I hear it back. But it is really good just to smile and be like, oh shit, I actually produced this and put it on as like driving on I-90 for ever.
No, absolutely. I I don't think I've really listened back on that many episodes. I want to say I watched the Collegiate Land one and the one that Shiny and Fufu were on for with DRF and Circuit, and I watched those two, but I'm kind of like a fake podcast fan, and I think part of it is that like I also produced like 90% or something like that of the episodes, so
Yeah,
like I was
something
kind
like
of
that.
listening to it anyways, so I didn't feel that
Yeah,
motivated. And like half the time,
yeah.
especially the earlier ones, I was doing like video editing, where instead of like the overlay you see right here, we were doing like the Discord stage, and that's like a whole other thing. Honestly, that could be
You got
like
so sick of hearing me talk, I bet.
no, no, I enjoy hearing you talk. Honestly, I think you're like really
Wow.
entertaining to listen to. But
You're buttering me up for something. Do you want to talk about the Goomies again or
like you,
something?
no, no, we're not gonna do that. But I think
Do you
that
have a final one?
I mean I was gonna say like honestly the Discord stage
Sorry.
days like that
Oh,
there was. I think it was cool in a lot of ways. I think it was like also really jank in other ways. I think in a perfect world where we had more time to like innovate on everything, and maybe we did this like a year ago, like we might have like followed a format similar to Pop Gun, maybe where for a segment or a part of the podcast we're in a stage, but not necessarily for the full thing. Um, but I do think that there was a really cool energy that we had there for a while with the stage environment. Um,
you say a
there was
while,
like
but it
more
was like
interactive
1.5, 2 episodes max on Switch.
on the stage.
Yeah, it was like I think it was literally just the summer episode and then like the first episode of the season.
Was it
I thought.
really? No, I was under the
I could have
impression it was
sworn it
every.
was.
I could have sworn it was episode 0 through episode 7. Am I wrong about
No,
that?
oh, no, I do not think it was. I definitely remember it was on Twitch, and I think we switched
Yeah.
before that.
Hmm.
I could be mistaken. It might be a little bit more I'm thinking of, but it was definitely not there for a
No,
while.
I'll actually stand by this. I remember editing a lot of those, and like it might not have been there. There were a few more that were on the stage. I think like maybe it wasn't through 7, but I think there were a couple more there on the stage.
Yeah, regardless, your point still stands. I just
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's all good. No, it's funny that we've reached the point where we're like so like mentally and even memory wise far removed from the beginning of this whole project that we don't even know what we're really talking about.
I remember. So I remember reading right from the script to the beginning point, and it was awful. But luckily, you have me now, which only half does that. And the other times, I'm cracking jokes that aren't funny about OmaZen.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
But
Well, that's my major three callouts. Do you want to share some of yours?
yeah, well, getting Weezer was one of mine. I thought that was funny. Another funny thing that honestly talking about the season 3 episode just made me remind me of is you remember how I always used to open those episodes?
Wasn't it just the whale hello there?
Well, okay, after the well, hello there. Like, we have like the little stinger for all the co-hosts and such. Every
I
single one of my
don't
line for
know.
season 3 was saying my name Krona was not in reference to something related to Corona.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then in the season finale, I revealed what it was, and it was really stupid because it's just a dinosaur or marine reptile or whatever. I don't know. It's the little things that make me really funny. And one thing I just remembered too. God, hang on. I'm gonna have to go find this in the Google Drive. So I will let me get back to it, but I'll keep yapping right now. Um,
Absolutely.
two of my favorite things we've done on the podcast was the Squid Scholar Showdown because oh my god,
Oh
that was
yeah.
so fun to write. Um, I look back on it. I hate the fact that my voice sounds awful because I did not have a good mic set up that day. But it was just fantastic. Um, fantastic time, wonderful hosts. Funny that two of them ended up becoming staff, but that's besides the point. Um,
Yeah,
just a
literally.
great
No.
time. Yeah. And then I honestly really enjoyed both writing and giving the establishing a collegiate identity presentation. I think that's honestly probably one of my favorites because it serves as such a great reference for some people getting into the community. I've talked to some people before about like, oh, I want to start a program at my school. Where do I start? I'm like, here's 2 hours of discussion with both CCA staff and some prominent community members about some of the issues that arrived here and what you should do. So I think that really has a really good. It serves as one of the better episodes in my mind for as a community pillar. Um,
Yeah.
and then I did find what I wanted to mention, and do you remember the last question on the feedback form for the season 1 of the episodes, Oma?
I want to make a guess,
Do you
but I know I'm
remember?
gonna get it like horribly wrong. I don't. I
Well,
don't.
I'm
I don't
not.
remember.
It was the question was, what was your favorite Coronaism? And the
Oh.
options were constantly using the word indeed, which I've used at least twice this episode so far. Giving mini lectures in the middle of team interviews, which we've both certainly done. Dyslexia moment, constantly taking sips from glasses or mugs of water, and Discord audio and video stuff. So funny how much time things have gone by. Those are still just Coronaisms that consistently appear on the podcast.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
But
I mean, hey, you can't get rid of the corona. You can't get rid of like all the little things that make you you.
what would be your OmaZen isms if you could list 2 or 3 right now?
Um. I feel like
Okay, I know
sometimes my
one of them.
that's insane.
Hold up the shorts again. Okay, go ahead.
You're welcome. um, I feel like sometimes I like I kind of like two like mental emotional selves kind of like where one of them is like kind of very serious and I don't know, I don't want to say locked in, but just like very serious and formal, and then the other side is like very impish and teasing, and like one will just randomly take over and I can't really control it, to be honest, and it's more just how like silly goofy I feel in the literal exact moment, and I feel like that does sometimes show up on podcast episodes. I don't know if that's something maybe people pick up on, or if that's an Oma-ism, but it's something I think about sometimes, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really have any big Oma-isms. I think when like I hang out with like teammates or people outside of immediate CCA staff obligations, some people will be like, "Oh yeah, that's like totally the Oma thing." But
Hmm.
I don't know if through the podcast at least I've established myself in that way. I don't know.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Come on, you have to get the audience something.
I think, like, for a while there, like in Season 5 in particular, I always had, like, Pokemon plushes behind me that I would purposely set up, or, like, I think a Kermit plush or something.
That's what I've been doing this season with
The
the accursed
Pikmin,
the Bullborg
the Bulborg.
plushes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
This
also a monkey.
totally.
That was
Oh
it.
yeah.
I had the monkey around
Yeah.
my neck for, like, a lot of the Season 4 episodes, I think.
Yeah, you did. Oh, your old
Oh, I forgot
setup
about
too had
that.
a lot of stuff in the background too.
I
Wow,
had
that
all the
seems fun.
Spider-Verse posters, like, in my
Yeah,
my
yeah.
apartment. Like, it was
I mean, you have
perfectly
one behind
angled.
you right now.
I
Still.
do. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's, like, my favorite
We
poster
have.
ever.
Nothing that. It's fine. Also, completely unrelated note, but related to the criticisms. If someone is ever extremely bored, I really, really, really want someone to scrape through all the podcast pods and just make a collection of every time I take a sip from a mug or a cup.
Sip
It's
compilation.
gotta be at least 30 minutes. At least, like, it's gotta be something ridiculous. With how much footage there is of me doing these episodes and talking, like, 38 episodes, we average, hour and a half, hour 40 for each? Like, come on. There's gotta be quality Corona content of me slurping my mug.
You know, if for some reason in, like, a year from now, like, like, the person watching this is watching this, and you just so happen to, like, go through the rest of the episodes, and you, like, had nothing to do with any of this, like, you came into CCA during CCA League Season 8 or something like that, and I hate that that's the thing that's probably going to happen. I'm going to be so for real. Like, not because I don't want more CCA League, but just because I was pre-League Season 1.
Old.
Old. First Booyah Bowl was pre-CCA League. Like, I don't
Yeah,
think a lot of people
that's always
realize
something that trips me up. Is that Booyah Bowl is not the end of the year, academic year invitational at the start of its existence.
Yeah, Booyah Bowl was just a way to try to get all the actual collegiate teams together to play in a tournament.
It wasn't invitational, but yeah.
Yeah. And that's when there were, like,
we're
10.
old.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hofstra made their first appearance there, I remember.
Yeah. No. I'm gonna be so honest. I'll sometimes have, like, my old pal teammates from my Purdue team, like, talk to me about, like, remember this funny moment, and I hate that I'm about to say this, but I don't remember any of the funny moments from that team. I legitimately remember nothing that happened on that team, and I think it's just because I'm so emotionally far removed from it that it's like I'm old grandpa in the chair, and it's like, well, remember when that happened?
OmaZen, do you remember beating my team that season?
I don't remember that you were on a
remember
team.
that game on Museum del Poncino where you literally clam blitzed us in the last 30 seconds and I was mad?
No,
How dare you?
I don't.
That happened, by the way, to the audience. I'm not just making that up. That actually happened. That was like
In
our
the
game
WPI
like,
set.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then it like ruined our mood for the rest of the set, and we lost every single game after that. So you're welcome.
Maybe I'll try to find it somehow if there are any clips out there of it. I don't know.
I'm sure one of us was recording somewhere. I could go through our old whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, no, it's funny though. It's funny to think about how far all this has come, and I think it's really cool that a lot of people have been able to exist exclusively in this system, even that's been created. So we live in a society.
You're sounding like a dystopian novel right now. Live in the system we've created. Dude, just say you agree with what B3 said earlier and leave it at that. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, B3 based build. I'm not going to talk anymore. Refer to B3 if you want an OMA opinion.
Oh, well, do you have anything else you want to mention this before we start to close things down?
I'm just, like, kind of gathering my bearings real quick. I don't think so. I think that basically does it. I don't have any big other things to discuss, but there are a few big things on the horizon and a few things we also want to make a note of shortly as well about. So once again, Collegiate Crossfire is going to be this weekend on Sunday, So make good note of that if you were not aware that it's Sunday. Gonna flash that graphic on the screen once again. Very
People
cool
did it
graphic.
5 times before this so far.
Yeah.
Or I've not been keeping track.
I haven't been either. But
It's all
yeah,
good. It'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. It's last year's was interesting with CCA taking both brackets. We'll see if we can do it again this year. And if not, well, let's see what the NFC has.
I think one more thing I want to mention about it too, and I don't think this was the case last year, correct me if I'm wrong, but um, be- Dapple Productions like has kind of like a partnership with NSC now where they've agreed to basically produce and stream like the, you know, actual sets of the matches so that people can watch them live or watch like replays and whatnot. And Dapple Productions is going to be hosting kind of the other end of the bracket that CCA is not covering. So you can tune into either stream and see what's going on that day. So definitely be sure to check that out.
Yeah, that is new to this year. As to what IPL is to CCA, Dapple is to the NFC. So exciting to see kind of both brackets be highlighted. So further down the line, much down the line, it's Riptide 2025. The CCA is proud to share that we'll be running the Splatoon 3 44 Collegiate Cruise event again this year at Riptide. Last year, our Collegiate Crew event was the largest Splatoon Collegiate LAN in North America, so you don't want to miss all the action here. Join us at Saturday, September 6th at Kalahari Resort in Sandusky, Ohio. See which Collegiate team will be bringing home the crown this year. Let's hope Big Fat gets some competition.
Yeah, Big Fat Sea Cows completely wrecked everyone last year. I never personally
I mean,
had
go
to fight
figure.
them, but when I was playing with my Purdue pickup. But definitely a lot of close sets.
I think I've heard through the grapevine PSU might be trying to go.
That could be
That'd
cool.
be good if they can. That'd be really good.
I know that there are quite a few new teams that are looking to show up, whether they're a relatively newer face or maybe an older crew. So I think it'll be a good time for sure this year.
Yeah. More to come. Be on the lookout for announcements for that and for any other stuff. Another thing to note for the Riptide is that it has some unique eligibility requirements. You are eligible if you're a student in 2025. That means if you're graduating this semester, you can still play. So by all means, go have fun. So that's all we have here for our summer 2025 announcements so far. Again, more to come. Be on the lookout for announcements for that. We also want to extend a thank you to our podcast team who has been so diligently working throughout the course of this project so far in this season. Scripters and co-hosts include Cyan, Nito, Cygnus, Elixir Mini, Garrett, and Mizuno. Producers include Vapor and Dear F. And the co-leads are myself and OmaZen. Only shouting people out once there for the primary role. But we love you to death. We appreciate all the stuff we put you through, all my my late night pings, all of my immediate can I get script writer on this please stuff. It wouldn't be the podcast without all this support we have on the back end.
Absolutely, and I think it's also helped lend a lot of like additional insight into what, you know, we talk about too, and like even like, hey, what team should we maybe interview this week? And maybe a different staff member has a unique perspective, and it's like, oh, okay, didn't think about that necessarily, but that's a good perspective. So definitely,
You're telling me the podcast has gotten better when it's not just myself and writing all the scripts?
Yes.
Oh my god, can't believe you.
Yes. No, completely agree on all that, though. Everyone's been a big help throughout the course of this project. But kind of looking a little bit more towards the future, when it comes to the podcast in particular, we're currently exploring passing off this project to a new lead or co-leads as well. And we're looking at having this potentially be an external group, an external individual that's not necessarily CCA staff. So if you're interested in kind of being able to, you know, help the CCA or just being able to tell these sorts of collegiate storylines that we've previously covered and discussed, and have the opportunity to also talk to teams who are currently playing in the CCA, this is kind of your window of opportunity now that me and Krona are for the most part, stepping down here as leads on the project. So please be on the lookout for an announcement about that, where we'll be releasing a form to submit interest in that, and we'll likely follow up with you from there if we foresee a potential fit of just what you want out of that. So that'll be out within the next 2 or 3 weeks, likely.
Yeah, and something to add to that too. You know, we're closing the era on this book of the podcast, and that does not mean that the next book, the next era, has to look the exact same as to what this entails too. You know, we always like to breathe some new life, some new innovation, some new excitement into the podcast. So if you look at this, you're like, oh, I hate the structure. I would want to do this and this, and be like, oh, I shouldn't submit it because they'll be getting those changes. No, submit it. We want to hear your ideas. We want the people who are excited to talk about Collegiate Splatoon in any way or shape or form. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we summed it up pretty well. And I think it's pretty much just about time for us to close out this episode, Krona. Do you have any other shout-outs you want to make?
Sorry, my brain is thinking really hard right now. Xenoblade Chronicles X. Fantastic game. Go play it. Recruit
Heck
my
yeah.
blade. 99 ray gun knife user. That's all I have to
Respect
say.
it.
What about you, Oma?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hang on. I should probably plug my Blue Sky. At comrade _ Corona, Blue Sky account. Actually, I think I have the Grubbin PFP right now. I might change it back to the.
love
What
the
about you,
Grubbin.
OmaZen? Anything you want to randomly shout out?
Randomly, I guess you probably are interested in this. I started Bloodborne recently. I believe I told you that already. But I started Bloodborne. It's my first, like, I guess more proper Souls type game. So I've
Have
been
you
having
gotten to the
fun so far.
BSB yet?
No, I haven't.
Not the Bloodstarved Beast.
I don't think so. I just beat the there's like a creature. There's like a big deer creature. I think I told
The
you about
cleric
that too.
beast on top of the bridge.
Yeah, the cleric beast on top of the bridge, yeah.
Have fun with Gascoigne. That's where most people stop.
Uh-oh. All right.
It's
Well,
a
we'll
fun
see
game.
if I
I love
stop.
it. I love it to death.
Yeah.
I just started Metaphor Fantasio, and you keep talking about it. Be like, maybe I should put this down and replay Bloodborne a fourth
Oh my
time.
gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, what makes me like even more interested in trying to like see it through is like it seems to be like a lot of people's favorite games, or like they have just nothing but praises to say about it. So it's like, you know what? I'm a little bit late to the boat.
You'll see. I'm so excited to bother you and staff in Dama's Cafe about this.
Heck yeah. Looking forward to that. Yeah. But yeah, that's my little shout out there, random shout out. But outside from that, you can find me on Blue Sky at OmaZen, just OmaZen there. And you can follow my shenanigans and all of the chaotic stuff I like to get up to. A lot of shit posting, a lot of silly goofiness. But yeah, you can also find me here at the CCA working on projects, maybe commentating every now and then or producing stuff. So that's about it for me. This was a podcast. This was the Krona Oma podcast, and it's blown up. We're about to blow up. We're gonna like endgame dissolve forever.
Indeed, you
Yup.
might be set on fire.
Might be set on fire. It's so Jover. I don't
Yeah.
have anything else to say.
Neither do I. Roll credits is what I say.
Roll credits. All right. Goodbye, everyone.